All right, recording in three, two, and one.
1,000 years ago, superstition and sword ruled. It was a time of darkness. It was a world of fear. It was the age of gargoyles. Stone by day, warriors by night. We were betrayed by the humans we had sworn to protect, frozen in stone by a magic spell for 1,000 years. Now, here in Manhattan, the spell is broken, and we live again. We are defenders of the night. We are gargoyles.
You know, it's funny. I woke up in the middle of the night last night, and the first thought in my head was, "Man, it's been a while. You're an idiot." Welcome to episode 216 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 216. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeff here with your Murdery. Welcome to another week. The highs and lows, the up, down, the good and the bad, the nerd and the murd. Before we kick into anything, I know it's in the past for everybody here. If you listen, and if you don't, I highly recommend you do. But I wanted to give a big shout out and congratulations to the podcast Three Geeky Dads on their 300th episode. Incredible
300.
feat. Incredible feat. They're a
300.
great show. We have had a couple of the Three Geeky Dads on the show before.
Mhm.
Um, in a big old massive three-way crossover. If you haven't heard the V three-way crossover, I do recommend that.
Menage a
Um,
pod.
Menage a pod. But yeah, congratulations to them on their 300th episode. Big shout out to them. Great show. Give them a listen. Again, Three Geeky Dad. I wanted to give a book update. Those of you who are watching the video see my background. I have the title from the cover of my book, Prime Numbers. We are in great progress. I sent the first draft to the publisher. They sent it back with edit. I am reviewing those now. Actually, I'm sorry. Rephrase that. I completed those edits, sent it back. They have sent me another draft, edited draft to make sure I approve of what they changed. So we're in that right now. I'm about 90% done with reviewing that. I hope to finish that this weekend.
Phil just
Um,
joined.
yeah, I saw him, and I'll get to him in a minute. So anyway, so we're coming close. I'm still waiting on my copyright for the book. That's with the U.S. Copyright Office. They said that, excuse me. Wow. They said that takes anywhere from 30 to 90 days. So I'm waiting. I've been working on a lot of concept art for the different characters. If you go to Facebook, you can actually search for Prime Numbers. I have a page for that. I'll be releasing concept art probably about one a week as we go through this so people can see. Um, and then I will give an update here, of course, when it's out. I'm super, super excited, super stoked. It's just phenomenal. It's a phenomenal feeling to finally get this story out of my head, and we're actually going to go to print. So by the time this episode's out, maybe the book will be out. So hopefully,
Eh.
fingers crossed. So our producer Will has joined us. Um, really for something very specific. I had to give him some shit. So anybody out there who's not watched The Handmaid's Tale or The Handmaid Tale, which however that goes, if you haven't watched it, it's a very dark, dark TV series. Um, and there's a lot of people that actually can't watch The Handmaid's Tale because some of it hits a little too close to home of what's going on in the world currently. But it is a very popular show. A lot of people have watched it. William and I have both watched it. And say hi, Will.
Um, hi.
There we go.
Ah,
Um,
I thought he
so
was going to say hi, Will.
yeah, he's not that smart.
Oh, ouch.
Um,
Oh,
but anyway, so
ouch.
so he calls me up one day. I'm sorry, back up to Handmaid's Tale. So as part of it, the handmaids are slaves. There's no easy way to say that. They are slaves. They are fertile women in a world where fertility is scarce, is rare. And so a woman who can actually conceive and birth a child is, um, in a way, considered very reverent, very special, but they're slaves. And the handmaids generally live with a husband and wife. The husband is typically one of the military commanders in the country they live in, which is formerly America. And is that what's the name of the country? Boy, I'm losing it right now.
Gilead.
Gilead.
So
Thank
yeah.
you. Um, and all the handmaids are referred to by their commander's name with the word of put in front of it. So for example, the character of June in Handmaid's Tale is referred to as of Fred. So William calls me up and to tell me he did something which probably would have been a mistake, but he thought he was funny, and he called his wife of William. She was not happy, to say the least, but I laughed my ass off because I said that was fucking hysterical, but he deserved every punishment he got out of it.
Oh yeah.
Every punishment
Oh
he
yeah.
got out of it.
Did I?
Still
So,
funny.
oh, it's hysterical, but he deserved to be in trouble.
Huh?
So we furthered this, and Will now works with my wife, Chelsea. And so I have been referring to Will as of Chelsea, and she will refer to Will as of Chelsea.
Yeah.
Will is our wonderful producer. He does such great work producing the show, but sometimes he just ain't that bright.
Whoa. That's not nice.
I think I've proved my point here of
But that's not
Chelsea.
that's not nice.
I never claimed to be nice. That is not a part of this show. I did not claim to be nice at all.
I'm nice.
Wait. Is this a
You
show?
are.
We're
Is
we're
this?
we're we're we're,
Dude,
we're in the show right now?
Yeah,
we are in the show right
we're,
now.
we're totally in the
Oh.
show.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Uh,
totally in the show. You joined late.
did I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's only 8.
yeah. Well, that's okay. We know it's well after 8. We start well before that. But
Oh
anyway,
wow.
so
Wow. Huh.
so maybe Will stay with us for a while instead of being behind the scenes. Would appreciate that. I had one more thing that I was just going to update on. We finished. God, I think it only took us 3 days to get through it, maybe only two. But we blazed through Ironheart on Disney Plus. I thought Ironheart was great. I loved Ironheart. I know there's some people out there who haven't, but I thought it was great. I mean, I figured out who the villain was very early. They were pointing to another villain, and I was like, no, no, I know who the villain's going to be. Um, but I thought Ironheart was really good. I'm looking forward to hopefully a second season because they do leave it open for a second season. But if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend Ironheart. It was very good, very good.
I'm just not
Nice.
I'm just not a fan anymore of this Marvel and this whole new multiverse thing.
There's a lot of people that are on that side of the page with Marvel. I like the fact that that they have brought Marvel to quote, real life, quote unquote. I think they do for the most part pretty good with their stuff. Their TV shows have been hit and miss. There's been some really good, there's been some not. The movies have been struggling a little bit, but I am hearing very good things about the Thunderbolts. Um, Everything I'm seeing about Fantastic Four looks really, really good.
Yeah, I watched that last night.
Did you? Was it good?
Yeah. Uh it wasn't bad.
Hmm.
I don't want to say too much about it to give it away, but it was a weird pace to it.
Hmm. Interesting. Eh, Fantastic Four is kind of weird, weird as it is, but I know that this is the step forward to getting us Doctor Doom as a
Yeah,
villain, which I'm stoked about. I love Doctor Doom as a villain. And the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom, I think is really, really cool. Um,
I hope he's not. It's. I hope he's not like a alternate Tony Stark.
it is. Oh, it is.
Oh
It
my
absolutely is.
gosh,
No, it absolutely
no.
no, but that's been a part of Marvel before. That's nothing new. That's nothing new they did for the movies. That's
So that's
nothing
part of
new.
the comics. I never read none of the comics.
Not every version of Victor Von Doom has been an offshoot of Tony Stark, but it has been in the comics that he was.
Mm.
Yeah, you
So
got to remember
they're going with
they've been
that.
running for 60, 70 years, and there'll be three or four different titles running at the same time. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so a lot of this stuff comes back. I'm just glad that they're finally they're finally playing with characters. It's like everybody knows Spider-Man, everybody knows the Hulk. They're bringing out some they're bringing out some odd ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I mean, they started that whole thing with Iron Man. I mean, Iron Man was not an A-list title. It was a B-list title because
Hmm.
you had Spider-Man, you had the X-Men, you had Hulk, you had Captain America. Iron Man was kind of a B-lister, but they brought him up to an A-lister as they started this. So I agree. I love that they bring in some B and C list comics. I mean, like the original Guardians of the Galaxy was great. Um, and a lot of people had not read that. I wasn't familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy at all before the movie. Um, so I think they do a good job with that. But John Favreau's in charge and Kevin Feige is in charge. I think with them in charge of the Marvel franchise, I think it will stay good. Um, I know there's some things they need, like I said, they had some failures. Eternals, I know there's people that like the Eternals. I know many more that hated the Eternals. Um,
Never
there's
watched it.
there's a lot of hate out there for Captain Marvel, um, that I don't really understand, but um, I enjoyed it enough. But then, there was a lot of hate out there for She-Hulk, and I thought She-Hulk was great.
Oh, She-Hulk was
No,
hysterical.
God.
I love She-Hulk.
Oh, She-Hulk was great. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, give Ironheart a chance. I would watch Ironheart. It's definitely worth a chance. Um, Riri Williams sometimes gets on my nerves a little bit, but for the most part, I think it's pretty good, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, we blazed through it in either 2 or 3 days, something like that. But
I
it
don't know.
was
I think I'm too far behind to even catch up.
no, you're not.
It's,
No, you're not.
it's
You're not going to miss anything from not knowing much about Riri Williams. She was introduced in Wakanda Forever, and it just really kind of picks up
well,
Yeah.
no, I'm
from
just
there.
saying, like, just the Marvel stuff after Endgame, because that's when I stopped watching it as much. I think I watched the Spider Man, and then I just stopped watching everything. I watched
I'm sorry.
what's that?
I'm sorry. I need to back up. The Spider-Man.
The Spider Mans. The
As
Spider.
bad
It's
as
like two.
that's as bad as when Chelsea asked me if I'd watched the Star Trek.
The Star
I
Trek.
mean, I mean, yeah, that's proper English.
No,
Learn
it's
it.
not.
The
No, it's not.
Uh,
Spider-Mans.
No, it's not.
uh,
The Spider-Men.
I
The
watched.
Spider-Man.
God,
Spider-Man.
I watched. What's that one with the Falcon and the Winter
Oh,
Soldier?
Brave New World.
No, no, no,
Oh,
no,
no, no. Yeah,
the show.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Falcon and Winter
watched
Soldier.
that.
Yeah.
Didn't like it. I didn't like the Hawkeye one.
For Falcon and Winter Soldier, you're going to face the same problem with Brave New World is if you don't like a good spy thriller, you're not going to like it.
Well, I like spy thrillers.
I'm surprised that you didn't like Falcon and Winter Soldier because it is a spy thriller, and it's the same with Brave New World. It's a spy thriller.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just because I was so Team Thanos that I didn't like the whole time travel thing. And
So, and that may be a problem for a lot of fans too, is I think what you're experiencing is what we used to call in the car business a King Kong syndrome. That's where you're shown the top of the line model car, and then they try to sell you a demo car, which is not top of the line car, and you've already seen the top of the line, and that's what you want. With Thanos, we started off with a major big bad. Um, and then you get down to some of these others, and you don't have these universe ending big bads. Galactus in Fantastic Four, I mean, he can be a universe ending big bad along with Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Um, Doctor Doom, Doctor Doom, while very Earth based, he's a big bad. He is a big bad. Doctor Doom could take on Thanos.
Oh yeah, but no, I'm just saying like the actual solution to defeating Thanos was
Oh,
time
going back in
travel.
time, going
I
back in
know, I
time and getting the Infinity Gauntlet stones.
yeah,
Mm,
because then at that point, it's a loop. Then one of Thanos's guys could go back in time and change stuff. It's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I think it's a tacky way
No,
to
that's the
solve the
problem
problem.
that's the problem you get in when you get into comics. They have to continue the storyline for years and years and years.
right.
So they'll build everything up and then every once in a while they'll blow everything away and then build it back up again.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Well, and and you're talking about time paradoxes. You're going back in time to change something. You're talking about time paradoxes, and some people kind of think of that as a copy out or as a cop out,
It is.
you know. But I don't know. I don't have a problem with the multiverse. There's multiverse in DC. There's multiverse in Marvel. I mean, that's part of comics. It's just part of that cosmic thing. But
Yeah.
got to embrace it. Anyway, that's all I had. Zig, William, y'all got anything, or you ready to step into the nerdy side of the house?
Now we're talking about comics. Big shootout to the big drafting board in the sky. We lost Jim Shooter last week.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, like
Yeah.
last. Well, again, we're in the future for those of you. Or no, we're in the past for those of you listening to it now. This was a big week for deaths.
Oh
Hulk
yeah.
Hulk Hogan, Chuck Mangione, Ozzy Osbourne, and
Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yeah, it was wild. I was like, wow,
Hmm. Sad.
it was very sad. Anyway, take us away.
What we
Today we're going
going?
to talk about Gargoyles and Gargoyles.
Oh, Gargoyles.
Hmm.
I've watched it. I haven't watched the whole series. But I'm familiar enough with it. I watched some of the episodes.
Weren't they statues that turned into real life at
Yep.
Yep.
night or something like that?
Yep.
Hmm.
I remember that show.
We're going to talk about that and the TV movie that preceded them. Both called Gargoyles, both on television. We're going to talk about the original TV movie first. Oh, and in our playlist, I've actually got the full film with like an intro from a couple of fans, and 3 full episodes of Gargoyles too. So the series Gargoyle. Go, it's going to be
Wow.
hard if I can't say that word. Gargoyles is an American made for television fantasy horror film directed by Bill L. Norton and originally broadcast Tuesday, November 21st, 1972, for CBS's The New CBS Tuesday Night Movies. It was the first time to feature the makeup work of special effects artist Stan Winston, for which he shared the 1973 Emmy Award for Outstanding Achievement in Makeup. The entire film was shot with a single camera. Bernie Casey's voice was replaced by Vic Perrin's voice in post production because his natural speaking voice didn't fit the character of the head gargoyle. The scenes with the gargoyles running and moving were slowed down to give the gargoyles an unnatural, jerky quality. The hotel in the film was an old, outdated business hotel near Carlsbad, New Mexico. It was actually burned down for the film. The ruins were later recorded as a historical archaeological site with the New Mexico Department of Historic Preservation. Um, so, what is this particular film? All right, we'll kind of walk through it a little bit. Dr. Mercer Bowley and his daughter Diane are traveling in Devil's Crossing, New Mexico for scientific research. They are shown a skeleton of a large creature with wings and horns at a place called Uncle Willie's Desert Museum. Dr. Bowley dismisses it as a hoax assembled from unrelated bones, but Uncle Willie insists that he found the bones together as a whole skeleton. While Uncle Willie tells them tales of demons from the American Indian folklore, an unseen force attacks the building, causing a rafter to collapse and kill the proprietor, and starting a fire that consumes the building. Dr. Bowley and Diane escape with the horn skull and take it to a motel. The next morning, there are reports to the police and return to the site of the fire. There, they find a group of young men, James Rieger and four others, riding motorcycles around the ruins. The police arrest them on suspicion of causing the fire against the advice of the Bowleys. That night, two gargoyles, appearing much smaller than the skeleton and without horns or wings, invade the motel room to retrieve the skull. Dr. Bowley chases them to the road where one is struck and killed by a truck, and the other one gets away with the skull. Bowley takes his body back to the room. The alcoholic hotelier, Mrs. Parks, complains about the loud noises, but Diane tries to assure her that it was only a family argument. So this scientist stumbles on the reawakening of a gargoyle clan. They go ahead and meet the head gargoyle, who's played by Ben Casey. He's much larger. He has wings and horns. He's like the skeleton. All of them have only been alive for about a few weeks, but they have a 500-year incubation rate. So that's why you hear about them from before. And so this film that they showed on television, again, you should watch it. It is in our playlist. It's really, the effects are really good for 1972 television money. The gargoyles are quite frightening looking. But so they had this television film. They pulled a lot of the ideas from the television film to the series that they did later on, because this played a lot. It played a lot as late night movies all through the 80s. The original 1972 Gargoyle film with Pernell Roberts. So now we'll talk about the series.
Trapper John MD? Is that Pernell Roberts?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Gargoyles, also known as Gargoyles, the Goliath Chronicles for Season 3, is an animated television series co-produced by Walt Disney Television Animation, Walt Disney Animation Japan, and for its first two seasons, the Nelvana Limited. For its final and originally aired from October 24th, 1994 to February 15th, 1997. The series featured a species of nocturnal creatures known as gargoyles that turn to stone during the day. And after spending 1,000 years in an enchanted, petrified state, the gargoyles who had been transported from medieval Scotland are reawakened in modern-day New York City and take on roles as the city's secret nighttime protectors. Gargoyles was no... I can't say gargoyles.
Gargoyles. Yeah, I'm tripping on it too.
Yeah. It was noted for its relatively dark tone, complex story arcs, and melodrama. Character arcs were heavily employed throughout the series, as were the Shakespearean themes. The series also received favorable comparisons to Cyber 6, Batman the Animated Series, and X-Men. A video game adaptation and a spin-off comic series was released in 1995. The show's storyline continued from 2006 to 2009 in a comic book series with the same title. It was produced by Slave Labor Graphics and was again revived by Dynamite Entertainment in 2022. And in 2023, a live-action reboot for Disney Plus was announced to be produced by Atomic Monster. The series featured a species of nocturnal creature known as gargoyles that turn to stone during the day, focusing on a clan led by Goliath. In 994 Common Era, the clan lives in a castle in Scotland. Most are betrayed and killed by humans who while petrified, and the remainder are magically cursed to sleep, i.e., be frozen in stone, until the castle rises above the clouds. 1,000 years later, in 1994, billionaire David Xanatos purchases the Gargoyles Castle and has it reconstructed on top of his New York City skyscraper. The Airy building thus awakening Goliath and the remainder of his clan. While trying to adjust to this new world, they are aided by a sympathetic police officer named uh, Eliza Maza and quickly come into conflict with a plotting Xanatos. In addition to dealing with the Gargoyles' attempt to adjust to modern New York City, the series also incorporates very supernatural threats to their safety and the world at large. There were a total of 78 half-hour episodes that were produced. The first two seasons aired on the Disney afternoon programming block. The first season consisted of 13 episodes, including a five-part opening story. The season's episodes were almost entirely written by Michael Reeves and Bryn Chandler Reeves. The second season featured 52 episodes and a long mid-season story arc dubbed by fans as the Gargoyles World Tour, in which four of the main characters travel the world, encountering other gargoyles and confronting various mystical and science fiction dangers. The writing staff was greatly expanded for season two. Following Disney's purchase of ABC in 1996, the third and final season aired during Saturday mornings on ABC as Gargoyles: The Goliath Chronicles. But behind the scenes, the animation producers and writers had almost completely changed from season one and two, while on screen, the Gargoyles' relationship to the world changed considerably. So they went through basically a writer's upheaval for season three. That's why it has a slightly different tone to it. It's still good. You still got Keith David. The series bears no creator credits, though. There were several people who are responsible for the show's format. Michael Reeves, Greg Weisman was one of the creators. Bryn Chandler Reeves, he wrote 12 of the 13 original episodes. And the last one was written by Steve Perry. All three writers were just coming off having written extensively for Batman the Animated Series. So they were really big on it. And at this time, in the 1990s, there was a lot of experimentation with animation that they'd seen in Japan. So the reason Batman the Animated Series and Gargoyles and a lot of these things have such a dark appeal to them is because instead of drawing the characters on white paper, they drew them on black paper, which just gives the background a darker tone. There's a lot more shade in it. Now, like the cell animation is the same. You put them on the cell with the same inks, but the undertone is much darker. And I think they also used some dark blues for some things and some dark greens, but it was all a much darker tone. So it gives the world a deeper view, as it would. Like there's a lot you can see a little further into the backgrounds in Gargoyles and Batman the Animated Series and X-Men. But they were doing some really dark stuff in Japan. Not everything in Japan was being done on black paper, but there was some really dark stuff they were doing, like Wicked City, stuff like that. Ninja Scroll, which is stuff we all eventually got in the 90s over here. But these guys were looking at that and kind of experimenting with those ideas, and it really kind of captured what the story was trying to tell. So I'm really glad they did that. Weisman said that he discussed with Michael Eisner of using Gargoyles as a starting point for an action-oriented universe within Disney, comparing this to how Warner Brothers owned DC Comics, and some second season episodes were used to set up potential hooks for these. Second season finished with a definitive wrap-up story told over a series of final episodes. However, third season was unexpectedly ordered. Although the series order was reduced to 13 episodes and moved to a Saturday morning time slot, around that point, Chandler Reeves, Perry, and Sperling all left the show. That was Brad Sperling. Sorry. A lot of names.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the reduced episodes order was a result of two factors, according to Weisman. The first was changes within Disney itself. The fallout from the death of Disney president Frank Wells led to the divide between Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg, and Katzenberg left to form DreamWorks. Saw that 1996 period. Weisman's bosses Gary Kreisel and Bruce Cranston, who had been supportive of Gargoyles, also left with Katzenberg for DreamWorks. Further interior pressure on Eisner from Roy E. Disney forced him to treat Gargoyles as part of the studio's older works. thus dropping the larger action universe plans and leaving the show without any support. Secondly, as the second season aired, the highly publicized trial of O.J. Simpson drew audiences away from Gargoyles. Because remember, Gargoyles came out like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Hmm.
Um, we were all adults watching it. Well, young adults, like in our 20s. Um, by the time the trial was over, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had become more powerful as a brand. So they kind of threw the gargoyles to the wayside. Many Shakespearean characters also found their way into the show's storyline, particularly those from Macbeth and A Midsummer Night's Dream. The series was also influenced by medieval Scottish history, as well as television shows ranging from Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears to Hill Street Blues, as well as Bonkers, in which Weissman had co-produced. Um, the latter in particular inspired the ensemble format of the series and the 30-second previously on Gargoyles recap found at the beginning of later episodes. The former was an influence of the original comedy development of the show, which it's subsequently made darker and more serious by first season writers Chandler Reeves, and Perry. New York artist Joe Tomasini brought a suit against Disney, claiming that his copyrighted screenplay and character design had been copied during the development and production of Gargoyles. The case was ultimately thrown out after it was proven that Disney did not have access to Tomasini's creations. Since its debut in '94, Gargoyles has become critically acclaimed by fans and critics alike because of its focus on folk tales, fairy tales, and comparative religion and mythology. It does have a bit of a cult following, as well as the film that we talked about earlier, which was also a CBS property that was made for TV movie that has shown over and over again throughout the years. Again, I urge everybody to go and take a look at our YouTube playlist this time and actually watch that Gargoyles movie because it's really well made, especially since it was a single camera and made for television. I mean, they shot it on film, you can tell, but well, I think some of the interior scenes may have been in the gargoyle caves may have been done with television cameras. But again, it's just one camera at a time. Um, a lot of nice vistas of the Carlsbad area of New Mexico, really pretty, good desert landscapes, which blends really well towards the gargoyles. The two creepy gargoyles that ran and stole the skull out of the hotel room. Um, when I was a kid, because again, this movie used to come on a lot. That those used to freak me out because they were real jerky when they moved. And what it was is they filmed them running across the street. They slowed it down, um, which made them kind of jerky in their movements. But it's a really cool effect. I mean, and it's a practical effect. And one they really don't employ much anymore because you don't think about it. Um, so you've got that one, and you've got the Gargoyles cartoon series again, which we talked about a lot of the production of. Um, but it ended up with 78 episodes, and we had a pretty decent run, and it's still on, and syndicators will pick it up and run it. You could see it in a lot of different places. Um, and it was compared pretty favorably to Batman and the Superman show, the Justice League, and Animaniacs. Again, all that drawing on black paper and putting them against deeper backgrounds. And in October of 2023, it was announced that a reboot is in development for Disney Plus. The series was produced by James Wan through his Atomic Monster label, with Gary Dauberman acting as the showrunner. So there's talk about getting a live action Gargoyle series. It is in production, as far as we know. There's no calls that it's been stopped or anything, so we're basically just waiting to see what happens. I'm sure it's going to run on Disney Plus. Um, Again, there's a lot bigger fan element of the series Gargoyles, because there's a well, Gen X, but there's a large contingent of millennials that watch this every day when they got home. In the same way that the Gen X kids watched a bunch of English dubbed Japanese cartoons when we first got them after school. I'm thinking of Battle of the Planets and Robotech and Star Blazers. Um, but this was one of the millennial kids. This was one of their go-tos. They really, really loved it. Um, and it's well loved and well liked. You see a lot of cosplay for it, even though it looks fairly difficult to do. Also, there was a lot of crossover with Star Trek: The Next Generation. Of course, you had Keith David voicing Goliath, as well as some other cartoon voice actors. But Xanatos was voiced by Jonathan Franks, and there was a Puck character from Midsummer Night's Dream that was voiced by Brent Spiner, and um, Demona, the gargoyle that kind of turned on him, was formerly Goliath's paramour, was voiced by Marina Sirtis. So you've got a lot of this stuff going on, and you've got a lot of crossover from Star Trek. Michael Dorn did some, as well as uh, oh my
I'd
god,
forgotten that Michael Dorn was a part of that.
yeah, Reading Rainbow, Geordie LaForge, Akunta
Hmm.
Kinte. Why can I not remember the actor's name?
Geordie LaForge,
Yeah,
LeVar Burton.
LeVar Burton. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. The name was just going. I could
Sure,
tell you everything he's ever done,
sure.
but I could not think of LeVar Burton. But yes, LeVar Burton did some. They pulled a lot from the Next Gen cast to do this, and I think it's just basically because they got Jonathan Frakes first, and he was like, "Hey, you guys should come do this. It's a nice little voiceover over gig." Plus, they all get to work with Keith David, and he's really cool. You know, everybody who works with Keith David says he's really cool. Um,
I'm sorry, complete interjection, and just a tangent and whatnot. There's a lot of people out there that think that Jonathan Frakes can't act, and there may be some to that. He does kind of lead scenes with his head. Um,
oh, you mean Riker?
yeah,
Yeah,
but
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 yeah,
he
but
is he
that's
is
what
a
Riker was.
yeah, he's a phenomenal director.
Yeah, he's a great director. He's not a bad actor either. I think
I
he's
don't
pretty
think
good.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, he played he played Riker as the stand-in for Jim Kirk.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. That
because
was the
Picard
original
was
idea.
Pike
Yeah.
and Riker was Kirk, and that way they could have both captains at once.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember if this is canon or if it was just rumor when Next Gen was going to come out, but I seem to remember a rumor that Riker was supposed to be a descendant of Kirk.
Oh, really? That was
Yeah,
the original idea.
I
That
think
makes
so.
sense. And you get a lot of you also get a lot of Shakespearean stuff, especially Macbeth. A
Yeah.
lot of stuff on Macbeth. Sorry, I had knock wood there. I said it like 3 times. Um, um, but yeah, it's. I would recommend both of these stories to anybody. Again, the Gargoyle film is a great popcorn movie. It's not necessarily salacious because it did run on television, but it's it's a it's a good run. 1972, but you can't really tell because it's mostly about gargoyles. The effects are nice. Um,
Hmm.
it's a good story, decent storyline, and of course the cartoon series as well. But I was like, we should do something on gargoyles, and I thought, we should really talk about the 1972 movie Gargoyles, which is why I titled this episode "Gargoyles and Gargoyles" because they're spelled exactly the same way. But yeah, my recommendation is to get out there and check that stuff out, especially that series. Go on our YouTube playlist, see what you can see, or what we have. I think I've got 3 episodes of Gargoyles, and of course that whole film. Um, and they're both uh, loved by very many people. So there is fandom out there for them.
Hmm.
But that's about it for Gargoyles and Gargoyles. Okay, okay. I've said it so much the word now sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth. So I need to quit talking about
It reminds me of the time I may have said this on the show. But I was in a 7-Eleven one day as a teenager, and I was waiting in line behind this guy, and I hear the guy ask the clerk, "Yeah, let's see, I need one of those Playboys behind there and some chiclets." And the lady goes, "Chiclets?" And he goes, "Chiclets, chiclet, chiclets. I need chiclets. The word that sounds fucking stupid if you say it long enough. Chiclets."
Yes, gargoyle sounds dumb to me now. I need to quit saying it. Chicklets!
Just reminded me of that.
Idiots.
Uh-huh. Who was that?
That's our
Um,
producer.
yeah, I know. All right, great, awesome. Good job there. With that, I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
You talk about the time I murdered you.
What?
Huh?
Hmm.
What?
What?
Yeah.
What?
What?
Talk about the time I murdered you.
You're a fucking idiot.
Okay.
You can't murder him. He's alive.
That's true. That's
You,
Yeah.
that's true. It would
you
be
can't
caught
have
on
murdered him.
camera. Yeah.
Well, we time traveled, and in this universe,
No,
he's
shut
still
up.
alive doing
Shut up.
podcast.
Shut up.
You chopped his head off.
Yeah, I went for the head.
Whatever.
Love you.
All
Mean
right.
it.
Today I got my information off Medium, the Find Barbara Cotton website, the Facebook page for Barbara Cotton's case, Dakota Spotlight podcast, the Williston Herald, Stories of the Unsolved, and this is the story of Barbara Louise Cotton.
Barbara Cotton.
So it's been a few months since I covered a disappearance. I really find these fascinating when someone just disappears out of thin air and is never found, especially when there are twists along the way, and this is one of them. Oh, speaking of, if those of you who like to watch true crime shows, we had covered an episode long, long time ago. See if I can find which episode it is real quick. I should have done that before the show, but I didn't. Um, and it was the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through our list here. I'm trying to find which episode this was. Again, I apologize that I didn't do this beforehand. Because it was a really good one. The Amy Lynn Bradley, episode 45. Oh, that was when you did Larry Niven.
Oh, yeah. See, we have done our
Um,
writers.
Good episode. Yeah, the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. There is a documentary on Netflix
Hmm.
that covers it. I haven't watched it yet. I have it on my list to watch to see if they've uncovered any new one because it was a pretty very interesting one with a lot of twists. But this is another one. Barbara Louise Cotton, who was lovingly known as Barb. She was born on November 10th, 1965, in the town of Tioga, North Dakota. She was the seventh of eight children. She was born to devoted parents, Louise and John Cotton. They were both Caucasian and Native Americans, and Barbara was a treasured member of the family. They loved her. About age 7, her parents separated, and after the divorce, her mother moved to Williston, North Dakota, and brought along the three youngest children, Barb, her older brother Kent, who was just a year older, and their younger sister Kathy, who was 2 years younger than Barb. Um, by then, the reason she only brought the five older siblings were already adults and they were off building lives of their own. Louise was a very hardworking single mother. She did everything she could to make ends meet, but there was very little left after covering the essentials. When the family first arrived in Williston, the children were taken care of by a babysitter for a short time. But as time evolved, they had to take on the responsibility of looking after themselves and each other while their mother was at work. And this is how everything went for many years. Barb's disappearance occurred over 40 years ago. And with that time, details have become very blurred, and it's not a very straightforward case at all. There's a lot of layers to this, and sometimes it'll get confusing. Memories of this case differ, and there's some accounts that contradict the others. But everybody advocating for a case has done their best to break down everything very clearly. So we'll really kind of be focusing a lot on what we do know, along with some key points that are worth considering along the way. According to the original police report filed by her mother the day after her disappearance, on the evening of April 11th, 1981, Barbara, who was 15 years old then, vanished without a trace after having dinner with her boyfriend and a mutual friend in downtown Williston. Her boyfriend had offered to walk her home, but Barb declined. He last saw her standing near the corner by the Plainsman Hotel and was watching as she walked towards Recreation Park. That would be the final time that anyone saw or heard from her. There was a 1998 court document which was filed to officially declare Barb as deceased, which places this moment around midnight. There was a 1985 article that was published in the Bismarck Tribune, and Louise shared that she had returned home from work about 11 p.m. and briefly spoke with Barb. She said during their conversation that Barb mentioned she would be home later and that she had to work the next morning at the country kitchen where she worked. And this interaction would have taken place before the events later described by her boyfriend. And the police report does note that Barb had dinner that night, but it's also believed she may have attended a party afterwards, which is something we'll kind of get into a little bit later. Um, Lisa Jo Shields has a case summary on findbarbaracotton.com, and she writes, quote, precise, clear, complete, verifiable. These aren't words you are likely to hear used to describe the timeline leading up to Barb's disappearance. Most people who research into Barbara's case would most likely agree with this. Lisa does note in her case summary that the term, quote, boyfriend might be a bit of a stretch. None of Barb's close friends recall her having a boyfriend at that time. In fact, the only person who seemed to remember any kind of connection between Barb and this individual was her mother. So it kind of asks the question, who was he really? The main thing that Louise knew is that he used to work at Cakes and Cones washing dishes, and his name was Stacy Werder. So Stacy DeMar Werder was born on October 5th, 1959 in, I think this is probably Eureka, Yreka, Eureka, maybe, California. Former classmates remember him as generally kind and a likable person. His sisters did echo these memories and described him as both intelligent and compassionate. However, alongside these positive qualities, they also recalled a disturbing time where there were times where there were moments of sudden intense violence that left a lasting impact. Stacy's temper could erupt without warning, and during those frightening outbursts, his family believed his intentions were generally dangerous. It's pretty clear that Stacy was struggling with serious mental health issues in 1980 while he was in the Navy. He was officially diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and subsequently discharged. We've talked about this before. This condition can bring delusions, hallucinations, and heightened sensitivity to stress, often leading to unpredictable behavior.
And it usually hits in the late teens and early 20s too.
Yes, yes,
That's usually when it manifests.
yes. And paranoid schizophrenia is a very deeply serious and often debilitating mental illness, one that can drastically alter a person's perception of reality. What we do know about Stacy is that he was a drifter. He was constantly on the move. He didn't drive, so he hitchhiked his way across countless places throughout North America. It is confirmed he was in Williston at the time of Barbara's disappearance and left shortly afterward, reportedly heading to Montana. So the timeline matches up, and given his history of unpredictable behavior, it's very easy to raise questions, but that doesn't automatically mean he was involved.
Yeah.
Barb disappeared on April 11th, and on
None of our other friends know about him, so
right, right, or just don't remember him. I mean,
yeah.
like I said earlier, the memories kind of are unclear. So she disappeared on April 11th. The following day, on April 12th, her mother filed the missing persons report. On April 13th, Louise contacted the Williston Police Department and shared a new lead that she believed her daughter might be at the Pioneer Hotel in Scobie, Montana, specifically room 205. Authorities in Williston relayed this information to their counterparts in Scobie, who then searched the hotel. However, neither Stacy or Barb were found there. and it's not clear how Louise came by this information. That's
How did she
one of
know
the
it was
weird
room
things.
205?
Right. That's one of
Yeah.
the weird things. It's not clear anywhere how she knew this.
Yeah, or hey, when they go off, they like to stay at this one hotel. That I can get.
Right. But we
How the
don't
hell did
know.
she know it was room 205?
The party I had mentioned earlier took place on the night of April 11th at the 18th Street Apartments. It was hosted by two sisters, and they've said that although it's been many years since that night, they strongly believe their party was held on the same night that Barb disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sisters clearly remembers seeing Barb leave the party with someone she later identified as Stacy, who she recognized years later, seeing him in a photo. She said that sometimes afterwards she saw him return to the party. However, this time he was alone. She said she was curious and she asked about Barb's whereabouts, but the quote boyfriend, unquote, gave a vague response, simply saying that Barb had, quote, caught a ride and offered no additional details. The other sister, on the other hand, remembers being told that Barb's boyfriend showed up at their apartment the next day, visibly frantic. She said he was seeking information about Barb's whereabouts and his anxiety was clear in his demeanor. There have been many people closely involved in the case or who knew Barb well. One of those individuals was Barb's friend Sandy. Barb and Sandy had once been very close, but over time they drifted apart. Louise did say she was aware of this distance between them. But on the night of Barb's disappearance, Louise did reach out to Sandy to ask if she had seen Barb that evening, and Sandy had not, as she had been roller skating. She did, though, recall feeling an unsettling, unexplainable sense that something wasn't right that night. Sandy's mother and Louise remained friends and continued to stay in touch, even though their daughters had drifted apart. And Sandy's mother remembered speaking with Louise about Barb's disappearance, and she claimed that Louise had told her she was present at the dinner that night with Barb and Stacy. According to Louise, the dinner had gone well. However, as mentioned earlier, the police report indicates that the dinner involved Barb, Stacy, and another friend, not Louise. So once again, we've got discrepancy here that's raising questions. Sandy's mother recalled Louise mentioning her own presence at the dinner as one of those. Um, so Barb and Sandy's friendship had grown distant. So you do have to ask who was Barb's closest friend at the time of her disappearance, and that would be
Mm-hmm.
Diane,
Mm-hmm.
who recently has spoken with those dedicated to keeping the case alive. Barb and Diane shared an exceptionally close friendship, spending nearly all their free time together, as many teenage best friends do. They hung out at coffee shops and went to movies. Barb was a regular presence at Diane's house, and at one point, she even expressed a desire to move in with Diane and her family. Louise resisted this. Um, excuse me. And Diane's mother kind of helped foster another point of contention between their mother and daughter. Um, it's not uncommon for mothers and daughters to clash over certain things. Chelsea and
Yep.
Miranda did for sure, and it really seems to be the case here as well. But both Barb and Diane worked at local diners. They were saving their money for a shared goal. They wanted to get an apartment once they turned 16. Diane worked at the Thunderbird Cafe while Barb worked, as I said earlier, at the Country Kitchen. And this is one of the things they were most excited about was this apartment along with Diane's wedding. Diane was young, but she was planning for her wedding for July of 1981, which Barb was set to be the maid of honor. To this day, Louise still has the dress that Barb was meant to wear for the ceremony.
Oh wow.
Diane has mentioned that in the week leading up to Barb's disappearance, they hadn't seen each other as much. Don't know if it's because of Stacy, the supposed boyfriend, and it's possible, but the, the news, hearing about Stacy, it kind of came as a shock to Diane, especially because
She didn't know anything about it.
she assumed she would be the first person Barb would confide about
Yeah.
with a romantic interest, but she didn't. Um, Even though they didn't talk much that week, Diane did speak to Barb on the phone on April 10th. Barb had mentioned that she was at a friend's house, but Diane couldn't recall the friend's name. And they were planning to take a dog to the vet the following morning, and that was be the last time they spoke. Diane has said she never believed for a second that Barb would just leave on her own. She doesn't believe Barb was a runaway. Barb had a lot to look forward to and many things excited her about her future. So why would she just disappear?
Yeah, why'd you just pull up stakes and go?
Well, and
That
and
makes no
Diana
sense.
and Diana said if she was facing any trouble, she always knew she could stay with her.
Yeah.
But Barb also hadn't taken anything with her that she would have needed if she was planning to leave. She left behind her most recent paycheck, her personal belongings, including her eyeglasses and even a pack of
Hmm.
cigarettes.
Hmm.
So, it's possible somebody might hide their feelings, but Barb never expressed a desire to Diane to leave her life behind. And and even if she was, really for a boy that Diane hadn't even heard about until after Barb disappeared, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm sure everybody wonders, was Stacy ever interrogated? The answer is no, and he never will be. Between April and May of 1981, there's very little information about his whereabouts, but it's
Hmm.
believed he stayed in Montana during these months. This is based on the fact that he was reportedly heading there from North Dakota, and by June, he was indeed there. And we do know this because he was arrested in Glasgow, Montana on June 12th. On June 15th, he faced a disorderly conduct charge in Malta following an incident at the Villa Theater. Again, this is months after Barb went missing.
Yeah.
The night that he spent in the jail cell would end up being his last night on the planet as he hung himself in a successful suicide attempt. He was 21 years old and died around 1:30 in the morning. So whatever he knew about Barb's disappearance has died with him. Stacy actually did call home to his family in California, and while he was in jail, and his sister Laura answered. He told her to tell her mother that he loved her, and only a few hours later, he took his life. Stacy's sisters have said they do remember their mother and Louise speaking on the phone at times. Barb was, talking about that Barb was missing and Stacy was deceased, and maybe they all found comfort with each other. Um, their mother did refer to Barb as Stacy's girlfriend, and we don't know whether that's because Louise stated they were a couple or because Stacy said it himself that Barb was his girlfriend. That's going to kind of always remain unknown. His sisters again did say that due to his known anger, as soon as they heard of what happened to Barb, they suspected their brother as having some involvement. This was something their mother did not want to consider. This was her son.
Yeah.
There was one report that stated excuse me, that Louise stated that she spoke to Stacy's mother, and she told her that Stacy spoke of Barb soon after, before committing suicide. So he was on her mind at the time, or his mind at the time. But after Stacy committed suicide, a friend of his, nicknamed Red, brought Stacy's mother a lot of his belongings. This friend said he had met Stacy outside of Malta when he picked him up hitchhiking, that he never noticed anything suspicious about him. But he also stated that Stacy never once mentioned Barb in their short friendship. So I don't know.
I wonder if Stacy's relationship with Barb was, but he's schizophrenic. I'm assuming
Mhm.
he's not being treated. I wonder,
Yeah.
I
No,
wonder,
nothing that I saw said he was in any kind of treatment.
oh, wait, no, okay. My line of thought just derailed because her mom remembers him.
So she says, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, maybe their relationship was a lot more in Stacy's head
It's possible.
than it actually happened. Like
It's
maybe,
possible, but I mean, if that's the case, as you just mentioned, Louise did say that she remembered Stacy and that
yeah,
he and Barb were together. So I don't know. There's a lot of twists and turns in the case.
yeah.
But
Well, you weren't kidding.
no one's ever been arrested, but I mean, there's no shortage of suspicious characters. Many people who should have been questioned by authorities were never even approached. Stacy's own
Hmm.
sisters, for example, were never questioned.
Hmm.
Um, and this case will take you down a rabbit hole. It did for me. It left me wondering for days about what really happened and who might know more than they've let on. Towns talk, but they also keep secrets.
Yes, they do.
Is it possible that someone still in Williston knows what happened to Barbara on April 11th, 1981? It's certainly a possibility. There are people that are not suspects in the case, but are persons of interest. Stacy, of course, being one of those, even though he's deceased, he's still someone looked at under suspicion. But he is also not the only person to have committed suicide not long after her disappearance. The other person was Frank J. Del Pena. So in April of 1981, Frank Del Pena lived and worked in Williston. Shortly after Barb vanished, he experienced what could be described as a mental breakdown. As a result, he lost his job as a seismologist and was hospitalized for mental health issues. Most of these situations typically require 72 hours of observation, but he only spent one night under the care of a psychiatrist from May 1st to May 2nd, and a few days later, he left for Rawlins, Wyoming. Along the way, he attempted to abduct women and children, both boys and girls, by claiming he was searching for a husky puppy that had gotten loose in his trailer, which was connected to his van. He unfortunately did succeed in this plan outside of Rawlings during the evening hours. He abducted two young girls, aged 9 and 12. It was really just almost within sight of the local police station. The following morning, however, they did find the grim discovery. The lifeless body of the two girls were uncovered near an interstate exit, 54 miles of Rawlins. And given Del Pena's numerous attempts across various towns, it didn't come as any surprise that his true identity was swiftly unraveled. He was apprehended in Colorado after he tried to get another job with the company he had worked for back in Williston. Um, the it does seem that the weight of his crimes were too much for him to bear because he took his own life while he was in custody. And consequently, although no solid evidence ties him to Barbara's case, he does remain a person of interest in the disappearance of Barb because of the proximity.
Okay.
Um, the last person of interest is arguably the most sensitive one when it comes to persons of interest in this case, and it's Barb's own brother. Authorities had listed him as a person of interest before current investigators took over, so it's unclear why they considered him a person to focus on. Um, maybe early investigators were just kind of grasping at any leads due to lack of evidence, or is there something in the file that makes them suspicious? This is one of those things that people want the answer to. Frank lived in Williston at the time of Barb's disappearance at 32 years old. He was the second born of the eight children. Just like the other two people of interest, Frank is no longer alive. He passed away in 1999 from colon cancer, so he can't defend himself or attempt to clear his name. Frank's sister Diane, whose daughter had very tragic encounters with him, shared the story in episode 17 of the Dakota Spotlight podcast. This included touching and speaking inappropriately to a minor, the minor being Frank's own niece. Charges were close to being pressed by Diane, who ultimately decided to drop the lawsuit due to her lawyer stating he believed they would not get a conviction. And Diane stated that Frank died, or after Frank died, she started considering he may have had some involvement in what happened with Barb.
Yeah. Abusers
So,
gonna abuse, man.
yeah. So, more than 4 decades have passed since Barbara Cotton vanished without a trace, but for her family, the search for answers has never stopped. They still have the pain of not knowing what happened to her and the hope that truth and justice will someday be served. Um, every year that passes is a reminder of just how much was stolen. Barb deserves to be found and her story deserves to be told. That's another reason I tell these stories on these disappearances. Their story needs to keep going and going and going. Her family really deserves closure. So Barb was last seen wearing a light tan summer jacket, Wrangler brand blue jeans, and a blue pullover blouse and rust-colored suede loafers. She was 5 feet 2 inches and weighed about.
She's dressed like 1981, man.
Oh yeah, yeah. She was 5 feet 2 inches and weighed about 100 pounds. She had hazel brown eyes and brunette hair. Distinct features included a mole on the upper right side of her chest, another on the right side of her neck, and pierced ears, although it's not known if she was wearing earrings at the time. Notably, her left ear sat lower than her right, and she had a pronounced S-shaped spinal curve, possibly moderate scoliosis, which caused a slight limp or sway in her walk. Dental records indicated she had fillings in multiple molars. She has been excluded as being Jane Doe's, including Cheerleader in the Trunk, the Broward County Jane Doe, and Castleberry Kate. Typically, the Williston Police Department receives a few phone calls or tips about Barbara's case each year. And while law enforcement has followed up on them, they have hit brick walls. If you have any information about Barb's disappearance, please contact 911, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800 The Lost, which is 1-800-843-5678, or the Williston Police Department Missing Persons Unit at 701-557-1212. Any detail, no matter how small, could help bring Barb's case to close. And that's
If
the
you
story
see
of Barb.
something, say something.
Yeah, and that's the story of Barbara Louise Cotton.
Well, thank you, sir.
Again, I like covering these disappearances from time to time. Keep I said it just a minute ago. Keep their stories going. Tell others this story. Um, all these disappearances because these people deserve to be found. And when I find ones like this with all these twists, I go all the way back to the very first one I covered, which was Bryce LaPesia, many, 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 many episodes ago. There's so many twists and turns in that. I just think these are wild that they disappear without a trace.
Just walked off the face of the planet. And
Um,
and we don't know if it's a murder or not. I mean, we
no, we
suspect it
don't
is, but
suspect
it
it
may not
probably is.
be.
Right. Right. It's simply because from all accounts, she had nothing to walk away from,
Hmm.
nothing that would have made her run away. So, if it wasn't a murder, probably a tragic accident.
Hmm.
It could be either of those. But even if it was a tragic accident, you would expect,
Somebody to say something.
well, that she would have been found.
Yeah,
You know, um,
yeah. It's not like she's in the middle of a forest up there.
right.
There's not a lot of Yeah, it's a lot of empty empty open spaces, but they're open.
Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate you sitting through that one with me. I'm glad Will was here. He's been quiet for a while. I think he went to sleep.
Nope, I'm here.
Um, oh,
He's
hey,
there.
look, there he is. Yay. That will take us to the end of another reporting week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerderymurdery.com. It's our website, our hub for everything that we talk about here. You can find links to the episode, pictures of the episode, and you'll find a link to our YouTube video, which is so often updated.
Yeah, please check this one out. You can get that whole movie and some really great high quality episodes of Gargoyles as well.
Outstanding. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the work you do on that.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, can I add the link to my book on our site or to my
Uh,
website at any rate?
yeah,
Yay!
I thought that was the plan.
JeffreyHWright.com. You can find it's currently listed as coming soon because like again the book isn't for sale yet. But I will link out to that. There's the Facebook page Prime Numbers as well that you can search for. Definitely check that out. There's like I said, concept art that I'm going to be putting out there probably weekly until the book releases. Also on our website, you can find the link to our merchandise page, or if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. That, along with our patrons, you can find our Patreon link on our webpage, but our merchandise sales and our patrons do help with the costs that are associated with this show. It costs to keep us on the air. It costs to do our uploads for our storage, for our website. And then we have to, give William all these hundreds of thousands of dollars for producing that he wants. So make sure you do donate. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and
Which
thank
bank
you.
account does that go to?
I'm sorry.
Which bank account does that go to?
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about.
The
Okay.
Swiss win.
Okay.
Don't forget you can also help us completely free by leaving a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discuss. And last but not least, Chuck, time to go to bed.
Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. With that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with your murdering.
And I'm this guy with your whatevery.
Cue the music.